Okay. What about the chat? Okay, everyone. Okay, everyone, welcome back. This is Sulfur G6, and this time I would like to discuss about my ownership. So let me just share my screen so then you guys can see it. Okay, so this is about my ownership of my G6, uh, my XPeng G6 Long Range 2024 build, so 2024 models. And as you can see, this is I've driven 13,915 kilometers for the whole financial year 2026, which is from July 25 until June 26. So I'm trying to actually look at the costs of ownership during the year of all the things that I have in this with this car. Okay, so over the next few minutes we're going to look past the marketing brochures, basically whatever it is the um, being uh, stated by the car manufacturer and the speculative for assumptions by many people. This is a real world data that I've been logging since I own the car. So I've been logging the charging logs, of which showing how many kilowatt charging uh, being charged, being usage, the kilometers being driven. So yeah, we're going to deep dive into the hard telemetry of a comprehensive 12 months data log covering exactly 13,915 real world kilometers driven between from July until June 2026. So my goal today is simple: to deconstruct the true operational costs, charging efficiency, infrastructure dynamics, and hardware endurance of operating this vehicle in the real world. Whether you are an EV enthusiast or a skeptic or fleet manager or anyone interested in this, especially me, I'm an accountant by trade, so I'm always I am always interested in data. And yeah, and by this the data show me and will show you exactly what my car electric vehicle ownership looks like uh, with the evidence of real world data. And just to give you a background, I live in apartments, and when I bought the car, I don't know whether I can charge outside, because I can't charge in the apartment. There's no facility for charging at the car space underneath, in the underground car park. So thus, I was a bit worried at that time, but then you will see that it's actually quite. I found a lot of the as you guys know from my uh, previous videos, um, that yeah, I found recharging basically. Anyway, so let's dive into it. So let's start with the headline numbers. If you take away only 4 metrics from today's presentation, make it these 4 metrics. First, the total distance for the fiscal year is 13,915 kilometers. So this is not a trajectory. This is a real world kilometers driven use of the car. And second, our total annual charging cost was, and this is not a typo, it is just $172.73. How is it possible? It is driven by our third metric. So 90% of our charging sessions, the way I do it, were entirely free. Out of 150 total charging events throughout the whole year, 135 charging cost me absolutely nothing. This was achieved by aligning charging with daily routines, which we'll explore shortly. And finally, the most common concern with EV, battery health. Despite the active charging profile, we locked 0% battery degradation, maintaining a perfect 100% state of health. Let's look at the vehicle that made these numbers possible. Excuse me. So our subject, my car here, Remy, I call my car Remy, is an XPeng G6 Long Range 2024 models. Structurally, this model is built on an advanced 800-volt platform featuring an 87.50 kilowatt hour usable battery pack integrated directly into the chassis. This configuration yields an official estimated WLTP driving range of 570 kilometers on a single charge. Our lock began July 1st, 2025, although as an additional background information, I bought the car back in March 2025, and so this review is for the whole financial year after I own the car since March 2025. So I own it for about 3 months, three and a half months for the 2025 financial year, and then this is the full story of the full financial year. So the lock began on the 1st of July 2025 for the financial year 2026 with a starting odometer reading of approximately 3,932 kilometers, which had already established a solid post-delivery baseline. We concluded the logging period at the end of the financial year at 17,819 kilometers. So that's the estimated odometers reading at the end of the financial year. This active odometer span gives us a rich, stable telemetry dataset. Now, let's see what happened when we compare the economics of this powertrain to traditional internal combustion engines. So, this slide illustrates what we call the financial chasm. We model our exact 13,915 kilometer journey against standard internal combustion engine and the hybrid benchmark. So both of these I own it previously. So this is my benchmark is using my own previous car and current car. So I have a second car which is a hybrid, of which I used to use it and now is being used by my son. But previously I have another car which is a pure ICE car, of which is a very high consumption, if I can say. Okay, and you can see it here. If we have driven with this ICE car, it's 14 liters per 100 kilometers. So if we have driven this car for the same 13,915 kilometers, the total fuel expenses would have been $3,600. Now, that's actually based on the average. I believe the average fuel price is about 1.8, 1.9 for the whole financial year during the year. So that's what we use for the pricing. Okay. for the pricing of the fuel costs. Per liter is about 1.8 or 1.9. And yeah, downsizing to an efficient hybrid averaging 5 liters per 100 kilometers would have reduced the bill to 1,285. So you can see, by me owning a IC car previously, which is a Honda Odyssey, 2.4 liters, cars, uh, engines, consumption is really bad. Although the car is very good, but then consumption is 14 liters per 100 kilometers. So that's, uh, the cost is high. But when I went to buy hybrid, I immediately uh, feel the savings in fuels, which half the cost of what I used to. Just to give you a comparison, I used to actually drive Uber, and using the Honda Odyssey in a week, it usually cost me around, at that time, the price, the fuel price is not as high as today's, but just to give you the comparison, perspective comparison of the savings, I used to actually fill out in a week, 160 to $180 a week, doing Uber, a lot of Ubering. And then when I go to the hybrid, which is Toyota Prius C, my consumption dropped to $40 to $60 a week. Same time, same period of usage, same roughly same scenario of kilometers driven. So that you can see, by this, you can see it straight away. Yeah, 3,600, 1,285. So it's less than half. But with the electric vehicles, which is my, XPeng G6 is actually my first electric vehicles, consuming a total of 2,502 kilowatt hours, our total out-of-pocket power expense was just $172. Now let that sink in. Our annual charging cost is literally rounding error, representing less than 5% of traditional gasoline expenses, and only about 13% of hybrid expenses over the exact same distance. This isn't an incremental saving, it is a fundamental shift in transportation economics. Now, of course, later on you will find out, like over this 13,900, over this 2,502 kilowatt hour charge, there are trade-ins that I have to do, and you'll find out later on. But yeah, it can be achieved that the total power cost is really, really low. Especially, I took it, this is as a case from me who actually live in apartments. For those people who have a solar, the cost can be really low also, because you can actually charge the car using your solar panel and a battery. If you have a battery at home, then you can use it to charge your car using the battery storage. So it can be a very cost efficient doing that. And you guys, especially if you have solar and battery, you guys don't have to actually do the trade-ins, because you have the capability to actually have a zero charging sessions for your car. Okay, so now the 95% reduction reality, and this slide visualize the impact. Look at this chart. The drop off in annual operating costs is staggering. By switching from ICE car to my XPeng G6, I have secured an absolute annual saving of $3,427.36. That is a 95.20% reduction in fuel costs compared to petrol, and an 86.57% savings compared to hybrid. When we calculate our average cost across all energy consumed, both paid and free, we operated at an effective rate of just 6.87 cents per kilowatt hour. In real world terms, operating the G6 yielded the financial equivalent of paying more pennies per liters for fuels. Now, let's look how this energy was actually consumed across different driving environments. If you have spent your life driving gas car or petrol car, you know that stop and go city driving is usually where you get your best mileage, while highway cruising burns fuel rapidly. Electric vehicles completely turn this paradigm on its head. Our data reveals that over 9,096 kilometers of urban travel, the G6 averaged an efficiency of 18.49 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. However, across 4,819 kilometers of open highway road trips, our efficiency actually showing 16.77 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. Now, interestingly, contrary to the ICE paradigm that city driving will be with the ICE petrol car, a pure ICE car, you will not get a high efficiency in a urban driving, while in the highway driving you will get your best mileage, your best efficiency. And this also work with the with hybrids, where hybrid usually get the urban driving efficiency the best, but not necessarily the best for the highway, but it's will still be efficient for the driving, because the engine in the highway, because during the highway, with the hybrid engines, the electric motors will not be used at all, so it will still be just the petrol engine. So petrol engine will usually be most efficient in the highway or motorway, because the because of the constant torque being used. But interesting from my findings from the real data that I have, the with my habits, I think the reason why the urban driving is actually more inefficient rather than the road trip is because of the charging sessions, of which later on you will see. Okay, and this actually resulted in more kilowatt hours being charged or being used while actually idling. So yeah, so that's just my assumption here. I cannot prove it in a way, because interestingly enough, if I look, let me just put it up. Just give me 1 second. Let me just put it up, the screen for the charging efficiency by the car. So Okay, so you can see it here. Maybe it's too small. Just give me one sec. Let me just make it big. So you can see it here. During the 2026, according to the app itself, according to the XPeng app, the car efficiency during the 2026, I average the calculation. Yes, there are some days it's not being recorded, but on average it's showing us 13.02. Now this, just bear in mind something that we need to note. This 13.02 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers is only when the car is actually moving, not when the car is actually stopping. So when the car is not moving, so basically everything when the car speed is actually above 0. Okay, but as you can see also, interestingly, over the full year, the efficiency is actually, I'm using the data from the app itself. It's calculated at 17.46 overall for the whole year, urban and road trip. So this is where there is that discrepancy in the app, and the efficiency calculated by the total trip or total energy use for the whole trip compared to the mileage, right? Compared to the kilometers traveled. So yeah, this is something that we just need to be aware of. But you know, but for the actual data itself, when I look at the charging logs and things like that, from my charging log, let me just show you now my charging log. Give me a sec. Okay, so if you look at the charging log here, so, oh, sorry, not this one. Give me a second. Actually, this one, yeah. So if you look at the 2026 charging log, the data, let me just slow it down here. Like, the data is showing 18.79% charge, and the efficiency is actually at 17.99. So according to my charging log data, comparing the kilowatt hour usage based on the 87.5 and the percentage usage, it's 17.99 compared to the 17.46. Now I noticed that there are discrepancy here, but I guess the explanation I can give on this is because the actual kilowatt usage is not necessarily as per the percentage multiplied by the 87.5. So I'm just using the percentage multiplied by the 87.5 usage, battery, usable battery that the XPeng G6 have. So yeah, so that's my explanation on why there is a difference between my charging log efficiency and the XPeng app efficiency difference. But yeah, so the 17.99 kilowatt hour per 100 is basically my habits. It's the habits of me using the car. And based on the kilometers also, until the last date of the charging or the odometer when I read it. Okay. So yeah, in here it's showing 17.99. So I'm happy with the result, to be honest. From my point of view, the car is very, very efficient. Now, if we are actually continuously driving around the city all the time, I believe I should have reached, a lower improve the efficiency. It's not 17.99. We can always get it to the around 13 to 14 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. So I'm very happy with that. But this is the overall because of my charging sessions. Because you can see here, right, of the timing. But let's go back to the presentation first, to the slide, and yeah. Okay, so you can see here the telemetry gap, the app versus the calculated reality, which is what I'm trying to actually explain to you. So if you look close, if you look solely at the XPeng mobile app, it reports a stellar lifetime efficiency of 13 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. But that is only part of the story. The app only measures active propulsion, the energy used while the wheels are turning. So when that's why that's the explanation. That's the warning that the app is actually telling you, that the efficiency is only when the car is actually moving, when the speed is actually above zero. To find the true cost of ownership, we must analyze the entire thermodynamics pictures. Our log tracked a total 2,348 kilowatt hours flowing into the battery. We also generated a massive 1,165.70 kilowatt hours from regenerative braking. However, we also had to account 238 kilowatt hours of park energy usage. This is the energy consumed by Sentry mode, cabin overheat protection, passive thermal management, or air condition, or pit heater while the car was stationary. So when we factor in this park drain, our true calculated real world efficiency is 17.46 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So when doing your own financial modeling, always design around the calculated reality, not just the instrument, you know, just not from just not directly from the app or from what's showing in the car. Yes, it's the basis. The way that my learning in here is, I can use that as a good feel, and to know that the car is actually very efficient when it's actually running, when it's actually you know uh, moving. But there are more to just that efficiency. There are energy being used when the car is actually idling in traffic, for example, or when you're free charging at the shopping center. When I do a free charging, it's a slow charger, unfortunately, and sometimes I have to wait for charging, you know for over an hour. Just to give you a perspective, uh now we can go back to the charging session. Not this one, to this one. Yep, you can see, yeah, total charging hours during the whole year is 227 hours, estimated at 227 hours. That's converted, you know, as 9 days of charging. 9 days of charging. 9 days, 11 hours of charging. So basically, I spend 9 days in the car. Either I left the car or I sit in the car, relax. I take it as a me time, or sometimes I go groceries while I do groceries, or while I'm actually doing exercise, also walking around the shopping center. But There are times also where I actually sit down in the car, wait in the car, watch movies, or do other things while while waiting for the car to be charged. So this is the downtime. This is what I have said previously. This is the trade-in that I have to do to get this cost down. Now, whether that actually worthwhile, I'm just going to show. I guess the way that I'm thinking is this is to show that you can actually get recharging. You can actually really still get zero cost charging your EV, even if you don't have charging chargers at home, even if you're living in apartments. The question whether that time you know trade in that I have to wait, it's it's up to you, right? You have to consider it yourself. Yes, it's a down for me, it's a downtime anyway. It's after hours, I'm not doing anything, and I can enjoy while watching movies, you know. So yeah. So yes, it is a downtime. Uh but I do it also for other stuff. Groceries time, and things like that. So it's not all that bad in that sense. Okay? But yeah, at the end of the day, you do your own calculation, you do your own uh, decisions because knowing this. Okay, but it is available out there that you can charge for free, especially in New South Wales anyway. Okay, and in Sydney. Okay, so let's go back to here again. So now this is the this slide is basically just showing you the way I do charging for the whole year, just to prove my point. So one of the largest psychological hurdles for new buyers like me is the transition from gas station to the charging plugs. The data shows that EV ownership completely dismantles the old dedicated fuel run habits. Over our 150 total charging cycles, over three quarters, 75%, or 113 sessions, were AC charging. So bear in mind, this is all slow charging. This is passive destination charging. The car charged slowly while we slept, work, shop, exercise, or me time, downtime, things like that. So, yeah. So only 24.7% or 37 sessions required active en route DC fast charging, typically during our long highway road trips. Our hardware telemetry logged a peak DC fast charging spike of 175 kilowatt, while our slowest charge was a gentle 1.5 kilowatt, drawing from a standard AC granny wall charger. So yeah, this passive infrastructure alignment is the secret to how we subsidize our driving. How did we charge almost 14,000 kilometers of driving for only $172? We call it subsidizing the commute. By looking at the map of my charging habits, you can see a massive central hub, the Broadway shopping center here near my place, which is only 5 minutes from my apartment. Utilizing free Tesla destination chargers and ChargeFox AC networks, and by simply parking there during the night routine, basically the shopping center provide free parking after 6 p.m. until the next 6 a.m. So for the whole 12 hours is actually free parking. And weekly activities like grocery shopping, dining, and then me time, like, watching movie or exercise, walking around getting a walk. I filled up passively without spending a cent. We also integrated short stops at satellite networks like Gardens Place, Jolt, Explorer, and EV. So with that, the free charging, you know, like Jolt used to give the free charging for the first 7 kilowatt without any payment. Yes, at the time of writing, they have already changed their models. Now, for every session for free members, you will have to pay $2. So technically, it's 20 cents per kilowatt for the first seven kilowatt hours. For the first 7 kilowatt. So out of the 150 sessions, so just to confirm again, 135 is free charging, accounting for the vast majority of our total metered energy of over 2,507 kilowatt. We only paid 15 sessions all year. We didn't charge our life to fit the car. We simply aligned the car with my existing habits. And this then come back to what I said as the trade-in. Because the charging time is 227 hours in total charging. On paper, that sounds like a massive time sink. But let's look at the reality of active versus passive time. The dark segment of this bar represent our active DC fast charging. These stops average under 30 minutes, usually just enough to grab a coffee, stretch our legs, and use the restroom. This is the only time we actually waited on the vehicles. Not waited in the sense of where you really have, when you're on a road trip, you don't go anywhere anyway, right? But on the AC is actually most likely can be passive, right? If you charge the car for 1 hour during the grocery shopping, that's a passive. You're not waiting for the car to be charged because you're waiting for the car to be charged. So if you put the habits, you put the charging, charging scenario into your schedule where you're grocery shopping, then it's a passive, it's a passive charging time. Or if you have a longer time charging, let's say, just to give you the insight of my car, of my XPeng G6 with the 22 kilowatt chargers, which is in Broadway, the Tesla destination, or the ChargeBox, my car can only charge at a maximum of 11 kilowatt rate. So it means for a 10% charge, it will roughly take about almost 1 hour. And that's usually enough when you do grocery shopping or having dinners and things like that. But when you have, let's say you want to put it into 100%, like I usually charge only until 75%. And when I want to go on a long trip, then I charge it to 100%. So by doing this, sometimes, after I use it, let's say 60% or 50%, I need to charge until 100. That will usually take about 5 hours. So instead of waiting for the car, I usually just leave the car and then come back later on in the morning before 6 a.m. So that's what I usually do. So by doing that, I'm not spending 5 hours in that sense, but rather, you know, I can sleep and then come back. So that's how it is. So the rest of the bar, nearly 90% of the total duration was passive as AC charging. We were sleeping, working, shopping, exercising. We spent 0 minutes waiting. The car was waiting for us to return. When evaluating an EV, remember, it's not about how long it takes to charge, but rather whose time is being used. Now let's address the elephant in the room: battery degradation. Many people worry that fast charging, cold winters, or hot summers will quickly ruin an electric battery. Let's look at the telemetry. Over our 150 total charge cycles, the battery endured severe seasonal temperature swings, ranging from a cold winter low of 10.7 degrees Celsius to a scorching summer high of 35.9 degrees Celsius. It was also subjected to 37 high voltage DC fast charging sessions, so 37 high voltage, right? DC fast charging sessions, including rapid rate spikes up to 175 kilowatts. Yes, yet as we cross the 17,000 kilometers mark, the XPeng G6 87.5 kilowatt hour battery retained a perfect 100% state of health. Zero measurable degradation. Modern EV thermal management is highly sophisticated. The vehicle actively protects its own long-term durability even under diverse environmental stresses. And I guess, from what I learned also from another YouTuber, from BMS Engineering, the important part is because my car have a liquid cooling also, and liquid cooling helps a lot with the battery degradation. In conclusion, let's look at the ultimate return on investment of our XPeng G6 long range ownership. It is anchored by four key pillars. First, economics. A dramatic 95% savings on fuel, translating to an out-of-pocket cost of just $172 for a year of driving. Considering everything else the same, that's a good deal, you know? But yeah, but I can show you the real number of the costs that I have actually incurred for the car. So the actual cost for my car during 2026 is actually 4,976 compared to ICE, right? But this is not inclusive of charging, I believe. Yes. So 4,090. So the operating costs outside the fuel for ICE car is 4,097. But with this one, this is inclusive of the charging. So if we exclude, yes, during the year I paid more on car wash, equipment, of which this one will no longer. So this is only for the 2026 applicable. Car wash, I bought a prepaid, of which will goes over to for a few years. And service, So I guess, if there is none, let's say this one I divided by 3, and if this one is no longer, then and this one is no longer also, it's actually cheaper by $100 or $200 roughly. Okay, their expenses. The radio is about $1,500 in here. Let me check. Yep, and the insurance is 1,900. Yeah. So yeah, if we're assuming the same, right? Then the real saving is actually with the charging, of course, right? So if you look at the 2026 here, that's the calculation. It's based on $1.8, 1.848. This is coming from there is a data. I can give you the link later on for this. The average for the whole New South Wales. And yeah, so the saving roughly is 95.2 and 86.57 overall cost, inclusive of charging. And yeah, so this is inclusive just the charging, right? So this is just the charging is 85. And you can see that if the cost of petrol is 3,600 and 1,285, then this will become 7,000 compared to 5,000. So that's a real economic savings by having an EV. And it's undeniable. Yes, the mistake of a lot of EV owners, they do fast charging all the time, which is not recommended. You can do it, but not recommended, because the problem with fast charging, especially with the super ultra fast charging, the rate, the cost per kilowatt charge is very expensive, and it's undeniable. It's going to be non-economical if we do that. So the way that we need to always think owning an EV from economic point of view, for me as an accountant, the way that I look at it is, how can I be more cost effective? How am I going to actually do it? How can I really save the money converting from the petrol to charging EV? And originally I was afraid that I don't have that facility, because I live in an apartment. I don't have charger in my apartment. Then how should I do it? If I charge it in public, whether the cost is going to actually kill me, kill the whole idea or the whole narrative of buying EV for cost savings. But this year, from the day I bought the car, this actually proved my point and keep continually, amaze me. This basically, you can see for the free charging, yes, there is a downside of the time charging, of which I have to be honest, some of the hours, many of the hours also I was there, but it's not a down, it's not an active waiting in there. Sometimes I do, as I said, right? It's a passive. I watch movie, I go out and do other stuff, or I slept also in the car. Anyway, take it as is, whatever it is. Put it in a comment whether you think that's actually a bad idea or not. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. Okay, so The second thing is the endurance. And during the 14,000, the whole 17,000 kilometers, the odometer that I've traveled from March 2025, it's still 100% state of health battery. And the third, infrastructure. Seamless daily integration, allowing us to leverage strategic destination charging to source 90% of our energy entirely for free. So if you can have your charging at home, there are now a compulsory, for example, by the government, that every electricity companies need to provide everyone with free period for using electricity for EV charging. There is the very cost effective by a lot of the electricity plant from the midnight until 6 a.m. for example, a very low rate. Some of my friends says it's actually 4 cents. On average is about 8 cents. 8 cents charging is pretty good. As you can see, my charging is about 7 cents. So I think that's speaks volume of what's the cost here. And if you can have that charging at home, even if you have to pay 8 cents, use it. Use the window for the free charging, from the 11 until 2 o'clock, free electricity. Use that period to charge your car, because that's enough, that's usually enough. And fourth, efficiency. A realistic calculated real-world baseline of 17.46 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That includes all passive park energy usage, of which, going back to my data, the estimated real world range from my case is 486 kilometers for the whole, for the battery. It means from the WLTP range, I achieve 85% efficiency on the range. So that's what I found really interesting, during the full year. And to give you an update, until this is now, until the last date I charged is actually 9 of August 2026. And yeah, I have actually used the car. The odometer reading is actually 22,000 right now. So, and the battery health still 100%. And I change the scenario during the year. Starting from July, I do a lot of road trips. Like I've done Melbourne trips, and yeah, the car amazed me even further. So until the next time, thank you so much for your time, listening to me, following my story, the journey of owning the car as an accountant. Hopefully you can see my point of view, looking at data. Hopefully I'm not actually boring you. Apology because of the lightings. My lights actually off right now, but I am keen to actually provide this, to create this video for you guys right now. And apologies for the black shirt, for the black and it's dark and it's really bad. Yeah, but to show you here, I'm not really yet a YouTuber in that sense, but I'm trying to actually make one, and hopefully this video has been uh good and informative and useful. And if you like, Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, follow me, on my Facebook, YouTube. I have Instagram also. So yeah, just go, just follow me, and that's good enough because I'm still building my YouTube channel right now. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Uh, until the next time. So far out.